Hi there, welcome back to the latest update in the Presgrove case. Once again, new court documents have been released, and today I'm going to be sharing them with you, analysing and making sense. So while certain defendants have been served and responded successfully, the remaining haven't, and it's what led or prompted to an extension period up to 180 days, and we've got the confirmation of that. The official documents that go into some depth. Join me today as we read through that, but in addition, look at the extra details, see it from the different points of views and the responses of those within the community, and as well catch up on some important comments from the video that I did last night. If you haven't been following my channel in recent time or keeping up, don't worry, you will find the full playlist of the case and the videos you've missed out on, top right corner where the I symbol is, but be sure to check them out when you do have time, because it will all make sense and it does link on with one another. And the comments from last night, important, to do with Tyler Hudman, the mystery, the truth behind the 911 call, and making sense of it in a visual map analysis style and narration too, looking at it in ways other people haven't done so before. And we'll acknowledge the comments and responses from people to see if they disagree, agree, and if there's any alternative new theories. And what I will say is welcome if you are currently here during the live premiere of this video in particular. You can let me know your live reactions and thoughts in the chat on the right side of the screen, and at any point or time. And for those watching on catch up, if you have any questions, comments, answers, discussions and theories, anything you want to offload from your mind, be sure to drop a comment down below under the video. It will help with the engagement and spreading awareness of these videos. And if you're on mobile device, and whether you've voted before or it's your second time round, at least one more time can be done within the week to hype the video up, which is on mobile, just for that extra awareness and boost, so more people get to learn and the case gets to stay alive for longer, because it's deserving of that, just like with any other case out there. If anyone does want to support the channel in alternative ways, more direct, below in the comment section, pinned message, there is a PayPal link to me and a link to channel membership. The order of how we'll do things today is get straight into the court documents, understand that, then move on to the general point of view, and then the comments on the sideline. This is the first page, and I'll zoom in as usual so it's easier for you to see, and it does mention all of the defendants' names this time round. District Court, Devons County, File District Court, September 8th, 2025, Melody Harper, Court Clerk. Very recent, hence why we're looking at it now, and available. The estate of Noah Nichols, plaintiff. Avery Joe Howard, also known as Avery Joe Combs, Carter Combs' sister. Jack Newton, boyfriend to Carter. Caleb Newton, father to Jack. Joni Trout Wilcoxon Jr. And Stevie Howard. Logan Jernigan, John Jane Doe, A to Z, Val Patrol. Now, John Jane Doe, A to Z was not highlighted or acknowledged as in failing to respond or be served or being reached out to. Only the likes of Logan Jernigan, Stevie Howard, Joni Trout Wilcoxon were the ones that were highlighted. Val Patrol had responded earlier, the first ones. Defendants, the affidavit in support of verified motion for extension of time to serve the petition and to serve by publication. If you want to pause the video to read the rest of the writing, you can do so. Respectfully submits this verification by separate affidavit. State of Oklahoma, County of Oklahoma. Austin R. Vance, being duly sworn, state as follows. 1. I am the attorney for the plaintiff in the above captioned matter. So on Noah's side and the family. Let me just zoom in here towards the top area. And number 2, after exercising due diligence, service of summons upon the defendants Avery Howard, Joni Trout Wilcoxon Jr., Stevie Howard, and Logan Jernigan cannot be made by any method other than publication. So Avery, Joni, or Johnny, oh yeah, it must have been just how it was spelled, yeah. Avery, Johnny, Stevie, Logan have failed to respond back, and when reaching out to them, to their addresses, they weren't reachable. Number 3, I have made diligent efforts to locate these defendants, including 1, causing the petition and summons to be sent to addresses for these defendants located through a third-party address tracking service, and clearly that wasn't good enough. And 2, retaining a process server to attempt personal service at their last known residence, which didn't work out, and around the community. 4, despite these efforts, the defendant's whereabouts remain unknown, and personal service by mail, or any other authorised method cannot be accomplished. Now, at the end of the day, these are members of the general public that are defendants and should know that they are and know what they need to do. Now, if they're not receiving what's needed in order to respond, then they need to reach out themselves to get the ball rolling. If they truly believe that they're innocent and there's nothing going on, then they should try and cooperate as soon as possible, because the longer they delay it, in terms of the public opinion, and towards some in the case, they might start thinking, this is a little bit strange or odd. Now, if a defendant was injured, in a coma, or dead, well, not much that they can do about that. They can't control all factors. But if a defendant or more than one has moved away or is on holiday, and it's at the time of when they are aware that they're defendants and aware that there's going to be legal proceedings and stuff ongoing, they should be a bit more conscious of that. I mean, when it comes to Carter Combs and Jack Newton, they're a perfect example of people that at some point were supposed to be going around the world to explore life together, and then onwards having a baby, early stages of that pregnancy, but they still managed to respond back. So what's the excuses of Logan, Avery, Johnny, Stevie, and so on? What's their excuses? Oh, they're living elsewhere. Oh, they're not at their previous former place of living. Well, couldn't they reach out themselves? Oh, well, how would they know if it's worked or if it's come through or not? When do they need to reach out or not if they've not been reached out to before or they can't be got a hold of? I mean, at the end of the day, if these defendants have public access to YouTube, for example, watching my videos, they're going to know that their names are showing up here. They're going to know in those documents that there's a disconnect in trying to reach out to those said individuals, and that they can't seem to reach out to the authority to some extent. So it should be clear and obvious by now that as long as they're alive, functioning, they're not dead, they're not in a coma, then they should be doing something or making an effort to do so, because half or just over half or just under half have managed to respond back already. So why can't the remainder do the same? Now, you could put the argument across and say, well, what about the legal people, the ones in charge, the ones that are taking action in finding addresses and figuring out where the residents could be? But then later realising, maybe one of the individuals or two are in Bowie, Texas, and yet it was us, the general public, that knew of that much earlier on. So surely the experts should have known that as well and made an attempt in reaching out or finding them in Bowie, Texas, and not the party house itself. So I think it can go both ways. At the end of the day, when there's a level of interaction between one or more people together, face-to-face or somehow digital communication, there needs to be a level of understanding, there needs to be a level of communication, a level of transparency, because if you want things to work and be functional, then you need to give a little bit, and so does the other person. And it's not being like that here, which is a problem. What else do we need to catch up on here? So number 4, despite the efforts, unknown of whereabouts. 5, I request that service of summons upon the defendants be made by publication if they cannot be located and served by other means within 180 days. So I'm guessing one way or another serving is going to take place because they are defendants at the end of the day. I declare under penalty of perjury under the laws of the state of Oklahoma that the foregoing is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And there's some additional pages which will acknowledge. If you wonder why there's a bit of a box here and there, it's just because I don't know. I don't trust YouTube, right? I really don't trust YouTube. So you got Austin R. Vance, part of All Rise. You got Jeremy Otis, not part of All Rise. Sorry about that. Austin R. Vance, Jeremy Otis, and Ryan Sailors. Okay. And you got Andrew Casey and Austin Rabon, attorneys for plaintiff, the estate of Noah Nichols, names mentioned. Okay. And then the certificate of service. On this 5th day of September 2025, the undersigned served a true and correct copy of the foregoing document by deposing same, postage prepaid in United States mail, address as follows: Carl J. Buchholz, Ellis and Buchholz, attorney for defendant Val Patrol, Limited Liability Company. Daniel K. Jones, even if you can't quite see it, Daniel K. Jones, Mary Rogers Hurst, attorneys for defendants Jack Newton and Caleb Newton, and then Clark O. Brewster, attorney for defendant Carter Combs. Those same said individuals here have been able to respond back effectively and successfully, but the remaining of us have not responded, and that is a bit of a problem. Some interpret it as suspicious and odd, strange. I'll give you my closing thoughts a bit later. As for the post by Michael Facecast, credit to Michael for sharing the documents, the papers and all of that. That's all good. We'll acknowledge what he says in, I guess, summarising it. The estate of Noah Nichols Presgrove has just filed an affidavit in support of their earlier motion for extension of time to serve the petition and summons. Attorney Austin Vance submitted this sworn affidavit confirming that despite due diligence, defendants Avery Howard, Stevie Howard, Johnny Trout, Wilcoxon Jr. and Logan Jernigan still cannot be located or served by normal means such as personal service or mail. What this means, the estate has already hired process servers, used third-party address tracking and tried to serve the defendants at their last known residence and in their communities. And obviously they've moved on since. Despite these efforts, their whereabouts remain unknown. Because of this, the estate is asking the court for permission to serve these individuals by publication if they cannot be personally served within the next 180 days. And to be honest, the next 180 days is definitely going to feel like quite a long time. And what is going to happen during that course of time? Because, maybe the remainder, most could eventually decide to react and respond and then served. But then you might get one remainder that decides to drag it out as long as possible, and you still have to wait 180 days, which would be a pain and doesn't do much good for the family. Importantly, this affidavit also verifies that other defendants have already been successfully served, meaning they are officially in the case and must answer in court. Key excerpt, page 2, paragraph 3 to 4. Despite these efforts, we've seen that. Why this matters, though, this affidavit supports the earlier motion and shows two things clearly. One, certain defendants are still evading accountability instead of standing in court and defending themselves. They're making themselves scarce. If they themselves are conscious and aware of what's going on, all they have to do is go online, go on the internet, look at my videos or look at on Facebook, and they will know that they're caught within it, right? If someone is truly innocent, they might as well get over and done with as soon as possible. You want to clear your head, get over and done with. If you show any resistance, show any delays, it implies that you might be hiding something or a stalling tactic to get your mind straight, to talk with people in the background, to create a game plan and strategy. So if you are responsible or you do know something, you know how to operate and preserve yourself when going through with it and responding. But let's balance it out. What about Alicia Lee, that in a way lied about kind of agreeing with Robin Smith or Noah's family in meeting together, coming on down to the Pressy household to show Caden's phone data, to show it all and use what needs to be used and then not talk about it ever again. But never happened. And yet it was agreed upon via conversation or text. And then Alicia afterwards said, nope, I never said that. I never agreed upon anything. That never happened. Interesting. And then the whole Caden Pressy phone data being exchanged or shared or a link, and then the link being invalid and then the family not getting a hold of it. But if Caden's data was handed into police, the subpoena would show that. And if it doesn't, well, that's very interesting. But either way, it implies that besides defendants, other people in the case or indirectly in the case on the sideline, like Alicia and Caden, have also done stalling, delayed tactics towards the victim's family. And that has been documented through hard evidence to some extent, okay? So let's not forget that. We need to balance it up. Number 2, the estate is not backing down. The family's attorneys are making sure every legal tool is used, even if it means serving defendants by newspaper publication. The fight for truth and justice continues. Every motion, every affidavit, every filing brings us closer to the day of Noah's story is told in court openly. Oops. So, fair enough. Let's see the comments and reactions from some of the people on the page. To start off with, we've got Justin Roy here, and he says, why would they need to file an extension? All we heard from mums was how innocent they were. Why not take this opportunity to clear your name? What innocent people act this way? I'm very confused by this behaviour. So as I highlighted, if there was somehow a massive breakdown in communication, they somehow got lost, stranded on an island as hard as it is to believe, or if they were in a coma, or they were dead, that could explain the silence. But if it's not that, what else could it be? And for once, it's the first time in a while that Justin Roy actually makes some sense and states something of intelligence and not in an impetuous barking manner. So that's quite positive to see. Hopefully Justin Roy can keep up that behaviour with time, but I wouldn't hold on to it too much. Yanitsa says, I think we all might know why. I guess they were not that innocent after all. It's fair to see it that way. I understand why. A level of silence doesn't look good. If people have been quite big with their gobs and mouths, or have been very passionate about how innocent that they are, or defending others on behalf of them, etc., then now is the time to step up. Now is the time to put it in place. Put your mouth where whatever is. But the thing is, like Jack Newton, that's received a lot of questioning and skepticism over time, and Caleb as well. And people still strongly believe that they're responsible for Noah's death, yet they have responded back at the necessary time and were able, and so was Val Patrol and Carter Combs. So what does that say about supposedly the main bad guys in the case, the main ones that have been labelled and accused and boldly stated as being the murderers, that they were able to respond back quicker than the likes of Stevie Howard, Logan Jernigan, Avery, right, and so on? Is there a pattern? And Johnny Trout Wilcoxon, is there some kind of pattern going on there? Let me know what you think. Tina, hold them accountable. They can't be that hard to find. Lucy says, shady. Shauna says, thank you so much for explaining everything. I don't know, quite frankly, why it's so difficult serving those named people. This isn't some large metropolitan city with them hiding and avoiding or not. Well, it may not be a metropolitan city, but if they're out of state in Bowie, Texas or beyond, then maybe it takes a little bit more time to track them down. But if the general public have a rough idea where these said individuals are, then why aren't the officials and the key people following that up themselves? And surely they should know themselves first. Marcy says, put a tail on Carter Combs. I'm sure she knows where her mum and sister are. So indirectly, Marcy could be implying put a Apple AirTag on Carter Combs' back, let her walk over to where her mum is and sister, and then voila, you found them. Well, this isn't quite a Caden Pressey, Alicia Lee situation with the Apple AirTag. We do not need to go all over that again. My goodness. Miranda, they got on these groups and screamed their innocence at anyone who would listen 2 years ago. Now it's a game of hide and seek when the ball isn't in their court. You'd think they would have been running with joy to answer this civil suit. I know they all caught wind of it before the ink could dry. Now, who was it that said Noah's brother and sister were taking a step back from this suit because this doesn't give that? Well, that's the thing. Maybe, actually, hold on a second. Let's just break it down bit by bit, Miranda. Give me a second. A game of hide and seek. That these people, these defendants, same said individuals that are quiet now, were once screaming in the past. So I don't know about screaming, but yeah, they might have been somewhat vocal online. I wasn't around at the time to see or witness it, so my accounts are limited there. From what some have said, I think Logan Jernigan in an old social media post had acknowledged that why should we continue, or the things that we've said and when we've tried explaining ourselves, our innocence, our stories, that y'all have gone against it, that y'all have not listened whatsoever. And maybe that has happened on and off to some extent, but not everybody is going to believe it. not everybody will listen. So at times, some people may feel rejected or pushed back, and they feel, well, they're wasting the breath, so they might as well just keep their mouth shut and not bother talking anymore. And that's what's led to this point. But now's the time where they've got a platform to speak on officially. They should follow through with it to demonstrate through their own actions, and more so words originally in the past, where they are and where they stand. But by keeping quiet now, it's like fulfilling that self-fulfilling prophecy of what some of the general public want or think in, that these said individuals are guilty, and their silence shows that. And if these said individuals are truly innocent, well, by fulfilling the self-fulfilling prophecy of being quiet now, or maintaining quietness, they're not doing themselves any favours. They are making themselves look bad, making themselves look somewhat suspicious. If the likes of Jack Newton and Caleb can respond successfully, despite how often they've been labelled as being dodgy, responsible, caught in Noah's death, questioned beyond, and so on, and critiqued, if they're able to follow through with it, then what's the excuse for Logan, Johnny Trout Wilcox, and Stevie Howard and Avery then? What else is going on there? But when Miranda says, now, who was it that said Noah's brother and sister were taking a step back? Well, actually, Miranda, more so specifically referring to Noah's brother, Dalen Keith Presgrove, it was Dalen himself in, I believe, the People article that stated this is a last Hail Mary, that if this doesn't work out, then, or along the way, probably going to step out of it. Does that mean the whole of Noah's family? No. But did it mean Noah's brother? Yes. He said it himself. So I think what Miranda is implying that, oh, and who was it, by the way, in the community, as for the general public, that stated that Noah's brother and sister are going to take a step back because look at how it's going now. People are doubling down, pushing forwards, 180-day extension. It shows that the family has the passion, the fight, they're willing. But hold on, Miranda, that this wrongful death lawsuit has not ended yet. So they will push anyway, inevitably, until they get to some conclusion. And then, and maybe then, if it had fallen through or didn't work out, that might be when Noah's brother and sister do take a step back. It might be towards the end and not during the process. But in terms of who said what, specifically in terms of the brother, it was Dalen himself that stated it in one of the news articles that he could take a step back depending on how it goes, right? So it's not about the general public. It's not about the general public always spreading, always creating. It can be the horses' mouths themselves that say it, okay? Hopefully people remember. Kathy Hopkins, thank you again for posting. In my opinion, their behaviour is suspicious, but I don't know what their motives are for avoiding the process. True. You've always got to be patient, even if it's annoying and it looks dodgy. There can always be another side to the story. For that full balance and perspective, you've got to wait for it. Would Avery Howard and Stevie Howard be unwilling to meet their new family members next spring? To me, that would be strange. Have you seen the profile for Carter Combs' attorney? Mr. Brewster has taken on some high-profile cases. Well, is that a good thing? Is it a good success rate? And if so, could they represent anyone else? Brad, this appears to be their white Ford Bronco moment in history. I agree with you with nothing to hide. Why? Well, let me just give you my closing thoughts for this part. In my opinion, I would say through silence, it can speak a level of volume. But yes, in general, in life, you don't always have to say stuff to express how things are or what's on your mind in the presence of somebody else. But with this being possible digital, or there is a disconnect, or there's a distance physically, as in reaching out, mail service, serving these individuals, and it not coming to fruition, and these said defendants are aware what's on the line and what's going on, and their status and how people could view them, the best thing and the easiest thing to do would be just to get out the way, do what needs to be done, and stand true to what you believe in and what you've said in the past. If you're a punctual individual, then you should show up on time still to this day. If you're a professional individual, then you should still stand by that and continue it. But then when the cracks form or it's not quite fulfilled, then it casts a level of doubt. It might reinforce people's minds and opinions which they've made up with time. Maybe it wasn't shown or there was evidence to support it then, but there might be more so now. So through silence can speak volume. Through silence can suggest suspicion, hiding something, by being silent, by not physically responding, can lead to delays, which we're seeing up to 180 days. So if it's to bide time, then that's somewhat successful if that's their aim, because it's going through that 180-day period. 180 days to do what exactly? To get their story straight, to revise on stuff, to see if there's any wiggle room, gather any additional evidence, or sort things out if they've got attorneys, if they have at this moment, and so on. As for the likes of Jack, Carter, and Caleb, are they able to physically meet up or see the likes of Avery, Johnny Trout Wilcoxon, Logan Jernigan, or do they have to keep separate and away from each other because of conflict of interest, because of legal reasons? I don't know personally, but I just find it interesting how when you've got Caden Pressey and you've got JJ Bumpass, they're not even defendants, but because of the case and what JJ said in the past on the YouTube live premiere, that they were split apart, or that they had to maintain a level of distance because of the case, because of the ongoing stuff. Yet they're not even defendants. So if they're maintaining a level of physical and emotional distance, then what does that say about Jack Newton and Carter Combs? They're not even married yet, but they're both defendants individually, but they're together. And then Caleb as well. And then Logan, then friends, Avery, and so on. Interesting situation. So has Caden Pressey hung out with JJ Bumpass in recent time, or is there still distance there, even though they're not defendants or witnesses? It's very interesting, to be honest. But, as I said, delay tactics could show. It could prove that these delay tactics, and in some ways it's happened within the Dylan Rounds case with Brenner being stubborn and delays there. Actually, many, many, many delays. Still, it led to justice and closure to some extent in the end, but it was dragging it out. It's the emotional impact and strain it has on someone or the victim's family. That if you've got people out there that all they have to do is communicate and take a level of action, that the ball is in their court. When the ball is in their court in general, they need to step up or do something, and maybe down the line something inevitable happens, but if they truly care or they're truly innocent and they stand by what they say, then there needs to take a level of action as soon as possible if it's within reason and doable, provided there's no illnesses, death, or anything like that. When it comes to the ones on the receiving end, who may have been the catalyst in getting the ball rolling, in getting stuff being pushed, and then having to deal with the delays and the setbacks and the disappointment and the frustration, and it going nowhere, and there's no movement whatsoever, and there's only so much that you can do, and then it's a waiting game physically, it's a waiting game emotionally, until they step the hell up. And that can apply in general, as applied in previous cases. All it does by delaying the inevitable, it just adds unnecessary emotional strain on, yes, the victim's family, and it can add unnecessary emotional strain and stress on the defendants themselves. If they want a clear mind, if they had a bit of a conscience, or it was on their mind playing on them, and they feel weighed down by this ongoing stuff, and they want to be able to just move on forwards in life properly and not be held back by the past, then get it out the way as soon as possible. Now you could interpret it that way, whether they truly care for now or not. If they care for themselves at least, just to get it out of the way to free their mind, and if they're truly innocent, then they can show that, and it might win the audience, the general public over. But in terms of the actions by some of the defendants, they haven't won the audience over. They may have pushed them even further back and away, and it's led to the general public reinforcing their own personal beliefs in their suspicions towards those defendants, or more so focusing more on the defendants that haven't responded compared to the ones that have, because there was already a level of suspicion and a deepness towards Jack and Caleb, and you've seen how they've responded since. Now, the only other thing what I'll say, and I said it again, Alicia, Caden Pressey, the phone data, Caden, supposedly not a witness, Caden, not a defendant either. But at the time before all this came about, it was all in the air, open for discussion and interpretation. Maybe it doesn't matter as much now, but I'm sure it matters to the family though, the whole timeline, right? And yet Caden Pressey's phone data analysis, whether it was done, whether it was not done, but the original stuff is somewhere. Caden or Alicia was willing to share it with Noah's family, and it was agreed upon to meet at their place, the Pressey household. Never happened, but a text conversation showed it between, I think, Robin and Alicia, and then Alicia denied it ever happened. Alicia denied and said, no, it was never going to happen or something. Why lie? Why this? Why that? What good does it do? Why does it have to be so complex? You want to set a certain example, you want to set a certain tone, you call out other people and criticize them for their lack of cooperation, their lack of communication, a breakdown within it, not being always truthful or honest, contradictions, discrepancies, then step up, be a better example if you believe in that and show it. But then people don't. Delayed stalling tactics there, that maybe that the victim's family, there was delayed and stalls by the likes of Caden Pressey and Alicia, so then the family had to take matters into their own hand and get that subpoena through the OHP or the investigative material. But, you know, if Caden's phone was never taken in or analysed, even though Alicia says it was, Caden said it wasn't. If it wasn't, well then that subpoena isn't going to show anything to do with Caden, and that's unfortunate, that. So, yeah, it says a lot. But, you know, in terms of the delays and the stalling, oh yeah, here's a URL link to view the material, the data. Oh, sorry, it's expired. So there's the action of caring and actually making an attempt to do it. So it shows they're online, they're on the same side, same mindset, wavelength, which is a positive. But, you know, we'll only go 50-50, we're going to go halfway. Here's an attempt, but we know it's not going to work. But we want to show this level of action and devotion to show that we care and we are on your side, and then you can't call us out for it. And then if it expires, oh, well, never mind. Maybe we can find it through another way. Maybe we can meet up or share in a different way. How about this? Oh, sorry, plans have changed. Oh, sorry, I forgot to respond back. Oh, sorry, I've been very busy. Oh, been very busy. Oh, so many delays. Excuse after excuse after excuse after excuse by humans just in general, to the point of they'll say so much, they'll try and excuse so much, but not actually show much physically or action-wise, because really deep down maybe they just don't want to, or they're not interested in the first place. It's a shame that humans can't make it that clear to begin with, and so wasting people's time, wasting people's emotions and dragging it out, because I'm sure it doesn't do much good for the victim's family. But maybe that subpoena in some way had, at least, if it has been successful, because we've not seen of it announced public or by the family, because it might be quiet in the background, of course, but that might ease some tension, or it might even reinforce their minds as in why they're pushing for that 180-day extension. If that subpoena has already gone through, if the family have already got a hold of that material and evidence, let's just say, and they see something that others don't, that might be why they're really pushing for this 180-day extension. They might have been left a little bit disappointed, as in it wasn't all cooperative, but now it's like, well, after looking at this and looking at the details, the phone records, the audio, the interviews and anything like that of those said defendants that haven't responded, well, I think there's a case why they should, and they should do it urgently, because we've got evidence here to support that there's a level of suspicion or there could be incriminating evidence. So step up now, and if you don't, we'll make sure you will. I don't know, you could interpret it like that. Now, on the sideline, linking back to the wrongful death lawsuit, it was brought up by some people in the general public, small extent of people, suggesting that because the wrongful death lawsuit either made false claims, false statements, or there was some mistypos, incorrect things written down and stated, and it might be linked to that one, the wrong date of birth as well for Noah, or names muddled up. Caleb being accused and brought in even though he was never at the party, and even Caden Pressey backs that up too individually. But it's a bit of a mess. Was it all rushed together in a short space of time, so mistakes were made? As general public, some have suggested that maybe it was done intentionally to create some mistakes along the way. So if it needed to be amended or changed or challenged, it would add in a delay. Almost like, not self-sabotage, but external sabotage, in don't have much of a leg to stand on. We know ourselves as the family, and this is just a scenario justifying it from the mindset of the general public that think of it this way, that we as the family feel that we don't have enough evidence to stand on, so we're just stabbing in the dark, hoping that something sticks and something goes somewhere. So we'll state this and that, which is true, but then we'll add in some other details which may not exactly be true, and some other incorrect stuff, just to delay stuff down the line. So it is questioned, or it needs to be looked into or halted It just adds a delay, but it remains still open and onwards. As I said, it's not directly coming from me, but I think some people have suggested it one way or another, as in if the defendants aren't going to delay or stall, or it's unknown of, then we will stall it ourselves in some way to ensure that it continues, to ensure that it doesn't die or it doesn't end abruptly. Who knows? It can be like a chessboard at times. Now, with that heavy stuff out of the way, we should probably catch up on the previous comments from the last video that I did last night in regard to Tyler Hudman, the 911 dispatch call, and his route and his journey when driving on down, supposedly south towards Terrell and taking a turn around to go to Ryan, to take a turn around to be on the right side, the west side once again, to then be able to park up along with Tyler Hardy. However, the timing of it all, it's like what Joyce Bergow said, if it was to take 20 minutes or so for Tyler to get from back down there to back up to up there to then back to the body, it wouldn't tie in line with Jack Newton. I mean, Jack Newton was on site at the property at 5:53. Let's just round it down just so it's easier. At 5:50, Jack is on site at the property. By 6 in the morning, Jack's at the highway, right? 5:50 to 6 in the morning, 10 minutes. 10 minutes. And when Jack got there, truckers supposedly were already there. If at 5:43, when Tyler Hudman was driving along and making that call, at what part down the highway was he at? Was Tyler Hudman at 5:43 making the call as in he's north of Terrell, meaning he's going away from Terrell and heading towards Ryan at 5:43, talking about what he's already encountered and passed by and what he's aiming to do then. At 5:43, if he's already on the way to Ryan in order to eventually turn around, that time frame window might be more possible. From 5:4, let's just round it down again. From 5:40 to 6 in the morning, 5:50 and 6, 20 minutes. Tyler Hudman at 5:40, around when the call was made, depending on where he was on his journey, had about 20 minutes to get from one place to another, to turn back round, to get back to where the body is at. Jack at 5:50, rounded down, is still on site at the property. 10 minutes later, gets to the highway to make it 6 in the morning. If Tyler Hudman, 10 minutes before Jack was texting his father, at 5:40, was already on the way down north on the east side of the highway, passing by Noah's body, making the call, going to Ryan, the distance from Ryan, well, the distance from body to Terrell to Ryan to the body is about 18 miles and could take maybe 20 minutes or round about that, or a little bit less. And if Tyler Hudman at 5:43 is already on his way to Ryan, half it down by 10 minutes, 10 minutes of travelling done already, another 10 minutes left, and Jack at the 5:50 time mark has 10 minutes from there to the highway. That by the time the 10 minutes is up for Tyler Hudman to get back to the body, Jack then shows up. So it is possible. I think it is possible. Don't ask me to try and say that all over again or repeat it, okay? But I just hope that people watch this part. If you want to clip it, just for context. If Joyce Bergow doesn't watch this video, make sure to let her know about it, or anyone else that needs to know about it. It's just a possibility, okay? Because my original analysis of Tyler Hudman was how he described it. He was on the, let me just get it correct, northeast. He was on the east side of the highway as he was talking, because he said north of Terrell. So he was kind of going away from it. But originally he was going south, I guess, from the convoy and from what Mallory, Tyler Hardy had said in some way. So by the time Tyler Hudman made a call, he was already turning back from Terrell and heading north to Ryan. That's how I interpret it. Maybe I didn't make it clear in the last video, so apologies about that. But without further ado, let's just check the comments out and see if people agree or not. Let's filter it to the newest comments. So now, whilst we look here, we'll see people's opinions in recent time. June, I thought this before. If Noah was in a fetal position, he was alive when he was put there. He put himself in that position. A fetal position can be a defensive position. It can be a submissive position. Whether you're being attacked and stomped on, you crouch into a little ball, fetal, to try and protect your head and areas. And it's not that successful, but it's an attempt in protecting yourself, but also being quite defenseless and in a vulnerable place. Other people may tend to put themselves in a fetal position or left in a fetal position in their own puddle of piss or blood or tears or sweat, depending on the activity that they have engaged in or been on the receiving end of, like a domestic abuse situation with a controlling individual. They put you down, they hurt, they attack, they drain, they wear you, they attack, and so on, in the moment or with time, and you're reduced, or a person is reduced to nothing, and they're on a ball, on the ground, closed up, literally. As for now, Presgrove, maybe more of a defensive position. However, I've yet to see it officially mentioned in the autopsy. I've yet to see it officially mentioned by Caden Pressey. I've yet to see it officially mentioned by Jimmy Williams, the undersheriff, because at the end of the day, Jimmy Williams and Caden Pressey said similar things, as in Noah was on his side, his neck was twisted, and the legs were somewhat straight. Exception, Caden said sprawled out, as well as the arms. Jimmy Williams said that the arms were tucked in and the legs were straight. But in terms of being like flat out but on your side, Caden said it, Jimmy Williams said it. So when people in between say Noah is in a fetal position, is this the whole shredded fingertips scenario all over again? I wonder. Junie says lividity was on the back. Not right if report was correct. Anyway. Stephen, a video of how investigators first responders screwed up investigation. They ignored all protocols, like closed off the area, keep people from leaving ECT, using bloodhounds to look for where he was killed, etc. Ginny, damn sad. Stephen, you got that right. They're making it a cold case. How dirty is that? Is it really a cold case? Because it still seems quite active and heated, but maybe it's heading that way. Spencer, my opinion, why would Noah be on the highway? Walking home drunk? I doubt it. I agree. Tim Daniel said maybe falling from a pickup out of a vehicle. Could be. Spencer says, doubt it. Hopefully the truth will come out. I would say, though, it's more likely for Noah to fall out the back or the side of a pickup truck than it is to just be walking down the highway. Mike Johnson says he was said to walk off frequently from many people. He wasn't going home, just out walking. There's a difference between just going out walking and then straight up going down a highway, which is poorly lit and there's no cameras as well. And as well, in terms of many people saying that it was normal for Noah to walk away, well, at least to my knowledge, it was only Caden Pressey and Jasmine Millan that stated it, but to me that's good enough from different sides. The second idea makes more sense than the first one, walking. The third option could be getting dropped off there as a means of foul play, already dead and dumped off in some way. I said to Mike, I wonder if there was an average distance for Noah to walk to cover on foot when walking off. Because, does someone do a brisk walk? Does someone do a nomadic walk? Does Noah Presgrove do a short walk, a short circular? Does he tend to just stray off, walk off the beaten path? Does he tend to go into busy areas? Does he tend to walk away into the darkness where there's no light whatsoever, so he's technically vulnerable and isolated? What's normal for Noah? What's Noah's normal type of behaviour and pattern when it comes to walking? Is he a hiker? Is he a casual walker? Okay, long distance runner in the past or so he might have the stamina and is able. But what type of plan does Noah have when it comes to walking off? Constant walking, stopping and starting, going so far so it looks like he's away from it all, but he's still nearby, but people don't know, so they just think he's walked off, so then Noah has peace and quiet. What's the patterns and trends there? We're yet to find out about that. Spencer says, my opinion was catching up on Warlight Rath's previous video on Jasmine Millan's tattoo. Was Noah having an affair with one of the party girls' mothers' meetings up on the highway? Sounds crazy. I mean, it's a different way of looking at it. But I did do a video or an update on Jasmine Millan's tattoo, that Jasmine Millan got that tattoo post-death of Noah Presgrove to honour. Still shows a level of care and love. But if I'm correct in saying, yes, if you remember, Spencer, I did that TikTok video analysis from the mother's point of view, Renee Millan, that uploaded a video onto her TikTok page, which was edited by her daughter Stephanie, I think Stephanie Millan, or it might have been Jade Millan, that wasn't a party goer, one or the other. And then the remaining daughter, which was Jasmine Millan, was on camera in that edited video, a genuine video of kissing Noah Presgrove, making eye contact to some extent. Don't know if tongues were used, any French kissing, because we don't get to see the oral activities within, because the camera is on the outside of the mouth area. But they were kissing, and for some reason Renee Millan had it on her page and decided to upload it. I don't know why, but it was there. And I think for the kissing and the kissing sounds, it traumatized some people on my channel because it was on repeat whilst I was narrating it. But don't worry, I will not be bringing that up again or showing it. But nevertheless, yes, Jasmine Millan must have had a thing with Noah at some point in the past, probably before the party, because they were on camera kissing each other. And either they recorded themselves kissing each other, or Stephanie or Jade Millan, daughter, sister to Jasmine, was present in the moment recording it, I think. So it's a little bit, or maybe Jasmine recorded it with her other hand whilst the other hand was elsewhere with Noah. It depends how you look at it, but still, it does show that there was some intimacy between Jasmine Millan and Noah Presgrove, from what my memory serves correct. But before or after the party, well, before the party, of course, but close to the party, not too sure about. Affair with one of the party girls' mothers. What, Renee Millan then? Depends what the phone pings show, if there was anything. And to be honest, if Noah Presgrove was having an affair or meeting or cheating with one of the party girls' mothers, well, then you would think that Noah Presgrove would have to have communicated on his phone with one of the said mothers to say, hey, let's meet up at this time at 3:30. I'll meet you outside in the dark. Surely there would have been a call log by Noah on his phone outwards to someone to get them to meet up. But there was no mention of that, so maybe that's ruled out. 40-something miles. Junie, in terms of from Party House down to where Noah lived, it's 44.4 miles. Carl, never heard that. Would that have been? You never know. Carl, Eileen on falling out of a truck after waking up drunk and falling on his head. Texas boys, maybe. Makes more sense. Okay, fair enough. Mike, his brother, as in Dalen Keith Presgrove, stated Noah was in the fetal position. I think it was just a poor choice of words. Noah was under a covering. He didn't see him. Right. Well, Mike, if there is a quote, if there is a comment, if there is a statement which shows that what Dalen said, we need a screenshot of it or a source or a link, URL link to that article or that photo, whatever, to do a video on it, because this will be, if it is true, yet another situation, and you hear it from the horse's mouth, you hear it from one of the victim's family members, which, because of it being a tense time, emotional, mistakes can be made, miscommunication, poor choice of words, not done with intent, but the general public have no choice but to listen to it, nod their heads, agree with it, and then state it over and over again, like the shredded fingertips, and in an endless loop, without seeing the true hard evidence and proof. Big misunderstanding, maybe. Originally, I never knew where that was officially mentioned. That's true. Both Caden and Jimmy Williams were somewhat consistent with Noah on his side, not in a fetal position, but kind of like stretched out. +1, consistent with the hashtags, shout out. We got Dave, shout out to Dave. With no wallet or ID on Noah, who initially identified Noah and where did that happen? Interesting question. I think Jack Newton identified Noah when he showed up and talked to one of the Tylers. I think he said, this is my best friend. Yes, that's correct, Carl. And to be honest, likely based on the condition of Noah, despite the brutal injuries, it's identifiable, the body. It's not like the body's burnt or beyond destroyed where you can't identify, you've got to do a dental record. It wasn't to that extent. And because Jack was there and Jack knows Noah and vice versa, when Jack's present at 6 a.m, Jack telling the drivers, that's my best friend. And we've heard that a few times. So that's how the identification took place. Jeannie, Caden said chest down, but all sorts of tangled. I remember Caden saying Noah was kind of on his side, maybe a little bit chest down, but on his side and neck twisted the other way. and legs and arms sprawled out. Junie, nice work, Warlight Raff. Blessings all. Appreciate that, Junie. Thanks for being here. In my opinion, his injuries are so severe, a truck fits. Sorry, but it's just that much. Fair enough. Yeah, that's what Junie thinks, her opinion. Nothing wrong with that. CL, there were 3 911 calls and the first one has not been released. As Warlight Raff said many times, the first call was static. No, I didn't say that, Carl. I didn't say the first call was static. The static call was around 5:46 in the morning. The first successful call was at 5:43, meaning the static call can't come first when the first call was successful and by a different person, based on the times. Tyler Hoodman called at 5:43 and was successful. Then Tyler Hardy attempted to call himself at 5:46. Unsuccessful, it was static, wasn't able to get through or confirm name or identity, meaning the dispatcher would have received that call but no answer to it. So it's deemed as, it must be another person that called. Then Tyler Hardy tries a second time round, which overall is the third call made at 5:53, which is successful. When Tyler Hardy gets through and then starts talking, the dispatcher makes a reference that there was 2 calls or so before. Well, Tyler Hardy would be, oh yeah, even though he didn't acknowledge it at the time, I don't think, Tyler Hardy would be like, oh yeah, there's 2 other calls earlier. Well, then likely the first one, 5:43, Tyler Hoodman. Second one, 5:46. That was actually me. But you wouldn't know because we didn't get through to talking. But that was actually me calling. And now here I am again, successfully getting through. Hopefully that makes sense. That's how I've interpreted it. Carl, I don't think the mini-mark cameras are of any significance, like you said. How could they catch all the cars that far away and the further away and with the back roads onwards north, if you're passing down Terrell, the cameras aren't going to do it justice. So, yeah, true. Limited. As far as Tyler Hoodman, turning around, your map analysis roads, very sceptical that any of those roads would facilitate an 18-wheeler to turn left or right in the fields. He may have gone nearer to Terrell, like you said. That's why I acknowledged it in my overall analysis, and I will do a separate standalone updated map analysis to reinforce it and also reinforce the timing for it to make sense, because I've finally come with a certain resolve which could help other people in learning, but I'll do that next. Carl, by the way, Warlight Raff, that place that was wider where the driveway was gated closed and you said the semi could move back and forth possibly into the grassy area to turn around, yeah, that looks very possible. Okay, well, that's good to know. So there's always options there. Hopefully that made sense there. Just wanted to catch up with the comments, and it can link on with the next video that I do, even if it's a shorter one. Might do 2 videos in one day. We'll just see how it goes. Been quite busy. So if you found the video somewhat helpful and important, be sure to hit the like button, share the video so more people get to see it. That'd be appreciated. Full playlist and missed opportunities of videos if you haven't caught on them. Top right corner where the eye symbol is, including the earlier video that I did today, an update on the Jay Slater case. Be sure to catch that. Link is up there. Leave your thoughts down below. Channel membership link and PayPal link is below as well. It'll be interesting to see what happens next. That 180-day extension period for those defendants to respond back and be served correctly. Will they all respond back immediately? Will it be dragged out? Will there be one less remaining stubborn individual? How will it go? And will there be a motive? Will there be an explanation to justify why there was a delay and why there was a silence? Or will it just passively happen when the time is right and when it's meant to be? Time will ultimately tell. So we'll see what happens next and what needs to be covered next. That's it for now. Thanks for watching. Goodbye. Good night for now.